Welcome back to another special episode of the High School Lab with your host. We present these podcasts to you people out there. I am Chilufia Chewe. How are you doing today?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you. Welcome aboard, Chilufia.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So for today we have quite an interesting topic, as I say about all my topics because they're interesting. We're looking at the etiquettes for students, okay? What students should know about their learning environment, okay? How students build their learning environment. Chilufia, what do you think about our topic for today?
Well, I think it's an interesting topic because, behavioral and having a good understanding of your lecturers is good because actually
Yeah.
etiquettes are the ones which enable us also interact well with our lecturers.
Exactly, exactly. So let's dive right into this, Chilufia. First things first on our list is arguing with teachers or with lecturers. I want you to just define these according to a high school student and also according to a university student. Okay. So Chilufia, say I find my lecturer quite irritating. I hope my lecturer doesn't watch this. Please don't watch this podcast. Let's say you find your lecturer quite irritating, okay? And most of us tend to argue with this lecturer. Chilufia, what's the way to go? What do you think about this?
I think the best way is finding a good way to resolve that conflict or maybe that dispute which has come about with your lecturer. I think finding a good way of talking to him, maybe personally, following in his office, something like that. I think that's the best way of resolving such a conflict with your lecturer.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Now, can you explain what effects arguing with lecturers or teachers has on our learning environment as students?
Okay, firstly and foremost, arguing with a lecturer, you'll never enjoy that particular course or subject because usually we only have maybe a single lecturer in a particular course. Now imagine arguing with him. And if it's a very
Mhm,
difficult course, you end up failing. So arguing with a
mhm.
lecturer will maybe lower the grade you wanted to get. And also sometimes, when you argue with some lecturers, they might just end up maybe failing you, or you might not end up doing very well at the end of the course because your behavior also matters at the end of the day.
Okay, okay. Thank you for that. So, somebody may be listening to this and saying, "Wait, but I'm the right one, okay, and my lecturer is the one at fault." What do you have to say to these students? Okay, how should they approach such a situation?
Well, they can talk to their lecturers. If that proves to be futile, sometimes it's better to just humble yourself. Some situations they're not where fighting for. Sometimes better you humble yourself and
Mhm.
just take on the blame. Sometimes better to be humble than you end up risking your life, your career. I mean,
Okay, okay. So
yeah.
for us, for students especially, we depend on our lecturers for the grading system, especially. Okay, so say our grading system depends on our lecturers. So say I'm not okay with this lecture, I'm not okay with this lecture, okay, please lower your grades. So we're not saying that, you know what, take the blame, and you're at fault. No, we are saying in as much as issues on a personal level in front of your class, okay, explaining how it is better to approach your lecturers personally, okay, like you approach them in their office or in their workspace, minus the crowd, minus the classroom, and just explain on how you feel, explain on what's happening to you, okay, explain on, how you're not finding it okay to attend his classes because of him, so to say. I mean, this sounds crazy, but this is a human being we're talking about, okay? So say you have a tough lecturer, a tough teacher you're not comfortable with, try to approach him or her on a personal level and just explain yourself to him or her. Okay. Chilufia, thank you
I
for that on the arguing session. Okay. I want us now to look at caring about what other people say. Okay. So we have these students, okay, that just focus their academic lives on other people's academic lives. That is, they want to ask a question, but they are afraid to approach, the teacher because it's a dull question according to their friends. So, tell me, Chilufia, what do you think about caring about what other people say or think as a student?
Okay, we always know there's positive criticism, and that's actually the best because it brings the best out of you. But if we talk of
Mm-hmm.
always feeling shy, maybe thinking about what other people are thinking, I think that's not good. You might end up failing. Imagine a student in class who fails to ask a question, but that same question is failing to ask. A friend knows who is feeling shy to ask for, you see. So the person might end up knowing, not knowing that thing, and might end up failing. Yeah, so I think it's not actually very right.
Personal that our academic lives are for us to take care of, not for people to condemn or to comment on. Okay, that is, we are failing to understand the concept. It may seem like it is a simple concept, but it's hard for you. It is okay to come out and just ask the question. Okay, it's okay to come out of your fear zone and ask the lecturer, the teacher, that question. Chilufia, what do you have to say for those students who what do you have to say for those students who just find it hard there's always other people or making fun of?
Well, I can tell them to boost their confidence and always trust in themselves because at the end of the day, it's them benefiting, not the other friends. Yeah. So they should boost their confidence, always ask questions which they think they are helpful. Because you might be thinking, no, this question is like the way you put it down, but your friend knows it. You don't know it. You're losing out. And maybe the best person to explain to you that is a teacher or a lecturer or your supervisor or anyone who is in charge of taking you in that particular.
Exactly. Okay, thank you for that. Now, Chilufia, let's move on to the next point. That is, those students out there who apply very little effort to their work, and yeah, they get the really good grades. What do you have to say about applying very little to your academics and yet earning the really good grades? What do you have to say about this? Both the positive
Okay,
side and the negative side.
okay, the positive part is there are some people who are gifted in certain aspects of life. So you might discover maybe they are putting in little effort in a particular course of subjects. You might discover that they're actually doing well. Well, that's also all right for them because with their effort they're putting in, everything is coming out well. But now there are also students who put in little effort expecting something from their friends. Maybe you just get an assignment, copy and paste, do some edits, and lecturers prepare us for the future. So meaning everything we're doing, they're
Mhm,
actually preparing us for exam or when we start working.
mhm,
So you may discover such students, quite right, they might get away with it at that particular point, but in future it might catch up on them and they might lose out. And so also maybe if an assignment is copied, he might not understand everything which is in that particular thing he has written. So he might end up failing the exam at the end of the day. Imagine a person with a good CA failing the exam. Eesh.
mhm. Okay. I like how you say it. At the end of the day, it may catch up with you. Okay. So yeah, there's sometimes when we just don't apply much effort, but we get the really good grades, and the exam finds you, and it's like you're supposed to apply much more effort. What are you going to write today? And that's how it
Exactly.
catches up with you. So, Chilufia, can you explain this from a point of a medical student? By the way, to those listening to our podcast today, Chilufia is a medical student at the Cavendish University. I'll not mention his year. Okay, so Chilufia, you have gone through first year, second year, third year, the year you're in now, and question is, what do you think about those who got away with, the grades? Let's say our grade 12 students, okay, they applied very little effort to their exams, but they came out with a 6 points. They, used different means to get these beautiful grades, and now they're in med school. What do you have to say to these people?
Okay, well, we all know medical school how it is and how the system tends to run. So at some point, the system will tend to catch up on them. Medical school, or if you're in university, requires more of hard work. And sometimes maybe you might get good grades, which are not yours. You didn't put in effort. You might discover that when you enter now, when you come and do now the actual thing, you might discover things are bulky for you. You're unable to understand them. So the
Mm-hmm.
system actually will catch up on you.
Wow, that sounds very scary, but it is very true. So, to you out there, I know there's people who want to venture into the medical field, and it's not just about the medical field. Okay, you want to venture into the law field, into the educational field, you want to venture into any academic field. If you are applying little effort to it now, there is no way you're going to apply more effort to it tomorrow. So you start now, grow now, build now, develop now, and apply that effort today and grow in it. Okay. Chilufia, let's look at another point, that is engaging in dangerous activities. So we have these high school students who, get high and do and do the whole coke thing and the doping and yeah. Well, what do you have to say about this? Those who engage in smoking, the dangerous activities, so to say. What do you have to say about this?
Okay, firstly, we all know drugs. Drugs have a negative effect on a human being. We all know that. And also, if we're talking on a medical perspective, we can talk of drugs actually maybe causing diseases. And you and I obviously know the effects of drugs on an individual. But now, if we talk of a student who actually takes drugs, you discover that they'll actually not be very active in class, and sometimes they might be too tired to do certain things. And also, drugs sometimes tend to reduce your concentration levels. So you may discover a person actually has low concentration, cannot do things very well. Yeah. And if you're talking of dodging, a person who doesn't attend classes is likely to fail. There are always those things like a lecture. If it's in university, a lecture always
Hmm.
gives us a guideline of how a certain course will be done, and also guides us on the things we're supposed to study. So
Hmm.
actually dodging classes, you'll be missing out on those important things which a lecture will actually be availing to you. So you might
Hmm.
discover at the end of the day you end up failing. And also, some lecturers tend to take attendance. Attendance is very
Yeah.
important. So if
Yeah.
you're dodging classes,
Yeah.
you might discover your attendance is not being taken, and at the end of the day, you might discover you fail that particular course, because sometimes even if you have a low CA, you might discover that your attendance can cater for that, because there's no a person who was attending classes the whole year and tends to fail. A lecture can look into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. Now, Chilufia, we have university students. Okay, you started out with many people in first year. Okay, especially second year. Along the way, I'm so sure you've come across cases where we engage. I mean, where students rather get into university as sober and they're good to go and ready for school in this new life, but they engage in dangerous acts. They engage in the drug abuse and the substance abuse. They engage in so much that they should not engage in, and they lose track along the way. Chufia, as a witness to this, what do you have to tell people out there? What do you have to say about this?
Okay, I've seen before good student coming in first year, but they start engaging in drugs. Right now, we are
Mhm.
not with them. Probably you know what I mean. So what I can actually
Yeah,
just say is, as a student, it's really bad engaging in drugs, because one, you risk your or you risk your career, and at some point, if you're dealing in very dangerous drugs, you might get arrested. Some drugs cannot
yeah.
be found with, yeah, they are illegal. Yeah. So I can just urge people not to drugs, stay away from drugs.
Okay. Okay. I have a friend. He's an advocate. And he advocates for drag abuse. So he teaches me and tells me that, you know what, Louis, drags and it all, and it's quite interesting. And I think this should be on a podcast of ours. Yeah. I mean, we have to talk about this whole drag thing. Like, what really is this? Okay. So you out there, you're getting into school sober, or you're getting to school as you are, and you find the influence along the way, and it's not so easy to stand, but always remember where you should be tomorrow. Okay, and when that hits your mind, begin to make choices that'll get you there tomorrow. Okay, if you cannot handle things, do
Yes.
not indulge in them, especially. Now, Chiluvia, we're looking at lives of students, just to emphasize on this, lives of high school students, lives of university students. And as we stated earlier on, there's mannerisms that they should possess, that they should have, because this builds their learning environment. Chilufia, is there anything else you'd like to add on and just talk about for today concerning the mannerisms?
Okay, I can just urge every student out there that etiquettes should always be should always be done, because this will determine what will be when we graduate, like for us medical students, because when we continue
Mm-hmm.
practicing these etiquettes, they'll be now part of us. And for secondary school students, if they continue doing these etiquettes, like observing them, that's when they'll get to finish their secondary school education and obtain good grades, because they will be good students.
Okay. Thank you for that, Chilufia. Honestly, just look at one thing that is, before we close, taking school too seriously. I'll let you take the platform now, Chilufia, and just tell us about taking school too seriously, what you think about it.
Okay, I'll start with an example. I remember when I was in first year, I had friends who would go in the library at 7 and come out 17. But they ended up not doing very well. Some got grades, but not very good grades. Some ended
Mm-hmm.
up not actually doing even very well. So what I can
Mm-hmm.
say is you should enjoy your schooling. It shouldn't be a burden. Like you take school too seriously, such that you're even unable to maybe interact with your family, take co-curricular activities or anything like that. So
Mm-hmm.
school should be taken seriously. Yeah, school should be taken seriously so that you even get good grades, but always have time to relax, do other things, and make a schedule. You can't always be studying, always serious with school.
Yeah.
Have some time to relax, have some time to be free. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Now, we're not advising you guys out there to not be serious in academics, not be serious in school. No, we are very serious students, just so you know. We are advising you that in as much as you have the school life, there's something more to just school, and that is you. Okay, you need to build yourself as well. Okay, build those organizational skills. Remember, you're going through university not just to get the A classes, no, but for you to be employable at the end of the day. And being employable does not mean you're going to stick to your books all day long. No, you need some skills to it. Do you have communication skills, for example, organizational skills, for example? All these are what you build throughout this period of your academics. Okay, so there's so many rumors about medical school, medical students, like we explained in our previous podcast of how we don't have time as medical students, and we're on the books 247. That Chilufia has just explained to you how to schedule your life, okay, and not just do the studies 247, because there is still you to it. Chilufia, I think I asked you this question before the last question, before the last thing on taking school seriously, but I will ask you again before we come to an end of our podcast. Is there any advice, any wise words, any tricks that you think people out there should know?
Well, I can tell them that putting in effort is important, but also having good etiquette is a key, because it will produce a lasting solution to your lecturers and your tutors, and you'll be able to interact with them well, and also
Mhm.
the friendship will enable you also to get access to some materials and books to them. So that's what I can tell them concerning the topic. Yeah, and also if it's secondary school students, stay safe and stay away from drugs. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Chilufia. So you have had it for yourself. Mannerisms play a role in your academic life. How do they do that? They build your academic environment. Yes, they do. And if you have a good academic environment, or rather, learning environment, it is easy for you to get good grades. It is easy for you to focus. Okay, so remember, all this traces back to your mannerisms, your etiquette as a student. We have had it for our podcast today. We looked at the topic etiquettes that every student should possess, not just high school, not just primary, that you as well, university student. Chilufia, thank you so much for being a part of our podcast today. We have come to an end of the High School Hab podcast for this session. Chilufia, thank you again.
Thank, thank you very much, Louis, for hosting me.
You're welcome. And to you people out there, it is a bye-bye from Louis, bye-bye from Chilufia, bye-bye from the High School Hab for this week. Thank you.